Must see that night, the New York sky. Oh, well, yeah, that's funny. All right. Yeah, been getting a lot of questions the last couple weeks, and it's a lot of questions of new people. You know, the thing about this whole YouTube lawn care community is what's great about it. Actually, is people watch these videos and they get into it, and then they want to start their own little company, side hustle, whatever. They're really starting to think about, hey, you know what? I'm going to start my own business, be my own boss, do this, do that. But yeah, I get a lot of questions about, like I said, starting my own little business, and I got two choices. I got three choices. What would you do? What mower do? It always comes down to this Raptor here. It's a good mower. A lot of my early videos. What's up, Chris's Nightbird, Justin Capwell? What's going on? Justin, what's up, brother? Supreme, on my way to the deal to get my new mower. Uh-oh, Chris. Can you give me a hint? Give me a hint, Chris. I won't say it. I know you probably got an awesome video coming out later. But anyway, yeah, so actually it's red. Okay, I know what it is. And I think it's a stander, right? Well, you don't have to tell me. I know what it is. I don't want to say. You have the video. No one watched. My man Chris, he has a Hustler, also a Raptor 36-inch. But yeah, I just don't know how I'd feel about standing all day, especially you and those anyway, Chris. So you nothing to worry about. But actually, oh really? Yeah, I would too, man. I think you're looking at a 36, right? I'm telling you, everyone has these 36-inch mowers now. Skag has it. My man Chris, he has a Hustler, also a Raptor 36-inch. But yeah, I just don't know how I'd feel about standing all day, especially you in the heat. I don't know. I think if you're doing what I think you're doing, I think you're doing the right thing. That guy, what's his nuts there? He has a Skag. He just bought a Skag 36, and he loves it, and cuts real nice. Hey Chris, what's up? Justin, SD or Gravely ZT? Well, yeah, that's kind of what I'm talking. It's a lot of people watch my videos from like 2 years ago when I was talking about this mower, and you got to remember, guys, this was one of the first mowers, if not the first, where you can get a fab deck. You got a Kawasaki, and Hustler is a very big company. It's a very respected company. Some say maybe their quality has gone down, but when this came out, they were selling these at Home Depot, at Lowe's, but I always say go not to get your mowers at one of those big box stores, and I never have. But this was ahead of its time. But as time has gone on, this mower needs a real facelift to compete in its little market today. The Hustler Super Z, that was like the best sex ever. Yeah, it is. And if you got $13,000 that you want to spend, it all comes down to, hey, I'm sure anyone can go sign your name down and finance one, but it has to come down to if you really want to spend that money. Are you going to is it going to make your business any better? Are you going to be more comfortable? And if that's the case, those mowers are for you, and you gotta be, this is not a mower you want a crew. A lot of people who watch, and Mike and Chris, you have a business and it's really you and one other guy. If you're gonna have a crew where you got 3 or 4 people, these type of mowers, I don't recommend at all, and you got to be smart. If you're using it and Keith Tucker, but it does good. That's Keith, absolutely, and that's like my point of this little video. So I just answered a question like 10 minutes ago. Someone was down to this mower or the Husqvarna with the Kawasaki, and I'm like, spend the extra $500. Right now, they got that $200. I guess it's Hustler days. It's till July 4th. I mean, you can grab an SD for like $3,500, $3,400. I mean, I'd spend the extra money to get the 2,800 hydros. You get the better seat. You got the foot lift deck system. This deck system is the worst thing about this mower, and it's probably the only thing bad about this mower. Really light. Hustler's steering. The way some people like it, some people hate it. I think it's absolutely terrific, but I'm starting to notice that I don't really like it as much, only because I've been using a Skag. And with Hustlers, to get to the top speed, you really got to push this down. I mean, that goes really far down. With the Skag, right around here, man, you're maxing out. And it's not a big deal, but you do notice it with these Hustlers. But some people like that, and that's definitely... Cash is tight. I want the one that... Oh, Chris was there. Husqvarna versus the Hustler. Oh, I was the one. Hey, Chris. Yeah. No, well, if you don't have the extra $500, and if you are financing it, you're literally going to pay probably $10 more a month. Now, if you're going to buy, you got to go with the Hustler. Chris. Chris is the one who actually I'm talking about. And he's actually here live. Thanks for coming in, Chris. Yeah, if you have to choose between them two, you definitely got to go with this mower, only because of this. Especially if you're doing it commercially. You got the fab deck. Now, I believe the Husqvarna has a fab deck also. I was thinking you were going to get... I don't know what one you were getting. But when I answered that question, I didn't answer. I said get the SD, I believe. But I would go with the Hustler over the Husqvarna. And I don't know what model Husqvarna you're getting, but if you're going to use commercially, you got to go with the fab deck. Again, not sure what Husqvarna you were talking about, but if they both do have fab decks, I would still go with the Hustler. I think it's a better frame. I don't know. And I'm not saying Husqvarna is bad. What you really have to do, and I tell this to a lot of people, man, you gotta ride them both. Now, it's probably going to be really hard for you to ride that Husqvarna unless you have a dealer. I don't know where you plan on getting it, but if you're looking at getting a Hustler, you can go to your local dealer and they'll probably let you ride around the parking lot like a madman. But you gotta really, they're very, very similar. Normally I would say, hey, you know what, Husqvarna, it has the Kawasaki, but these Kohlers are pretty good. And I think, the Hustler, the Husqvarna that you were talking about had 21.5 horsepower. I believe the Raptor, I don't know what you're getting, a 42 or 52, but I think the 52 has like 25 horsepower or 24 horsepower, one or the other. And I don't know. I would probably go with the Hustler, basically just because I've used this. And it is a solid mower besides this deck system here. It's bad. I have to tighten it every once in a while, and if you don't check, it'll be loose. And I torque this thing at 700 foot-pounds, but that's just the way it is. But if you tighten it, it's good, and it's good for a while. I haven't had to do it in like 6 months, but yeah. So my point too, let's say I get a lot of questions, is it's still a solid mower. And right now, like I said, if you want the 42-inch, man, $25.99. That's a great price. So I can kind of see, actually it's $1,000 to move up to that SD, and I really don't want to do that. Then this is a great mower. But there's also that Gravely ZTX. There's the Ariens Icon. They both have the foot deck lift system here. But I recommend getting into at least ZT28 hydros if you could. Again, this mower I don't really use too much anymore. It's got probably 100 hours on it. But still does fine. But again, as an everyday. It's something you kind of want to keep for years and years and years. This is gonna last. Don't tell me. This is like my third one of these. You know, I've had 150, then I got rid of it. I had 100 and actually no, my first one I think I had like 260 out of 260, and that was before I started doing these videos. Then I had one that had 150 maybe, 130, I don't remember. And this one has like 72 hours on it, but again, I got it used, and the guy used it on a couple acres for a year or so. I don't know, say 25 or 30. But anyway, these things will last. But, you know, I have a lot of these hustler videos, so that's the questions I get. And I do recommend it, but I think there's better mowers in this class now, but not right, you know, with the $25.99 price. Again, it's tough to beat this price. Are you guys getting any audio? I might have been covering up. Can you hear this, guys? I'm sorry. Why only one anti-scalp wheel? I believe. Is it only one? I think there might be one on the. Yeah, it's only one. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't. The 52 had 2 on it, but you know that's something to definitely. Oh, you can hear Nightbird. Thanks. So Chris, yeah, you're good. Thanks, Keith. I'm getting any audio. Sorry, JW. Yeah, you got one anti-scalp wheel. I agree. 28 highs is definite for cutting more. Yeah. I mean, this thing has made me a lot of money, guys. I mean, especially in the fall cleanups, man. You know, I never thought I'd put, 70 hours on this mower in a month and a half last year. You know, going into September, this thing had like 15 hours on it, 18 hours or something. But, you know, bagging leaves, and that's what, I mean, leaves get everywhere. Just, it was, wet leaves I was doing, and it just gets, so, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm worried about this mower now. I'm just waiting for something to go wrong with it. With the Skag and with the Bobcat I had, I didn't really have any of that. I didn't worry about nothing. I got rid of the Bobcat with 80 hours on it. I didn't even feel like that was broken in. This, you just worry about it, So, but it's a great starting mower. You can definitely get by 2-3 years. Chris, he has the 36. Tony's Lawn Care, he's a big fan of this. I don't know if he ever put an hour meter on it, but he's probably got 200 hours on one of these. But again, he doesn't use it every day. So, as an everyday mower, you can do it. Because I did it, I think 2 years ago with the Hustler 52-inch. Like I said, I had it 1 year, 130, 140 hours on it. Really worked fine. I didn't have any issues with it, except the deck lift system. But, yeah, so that's I do recommend this, but it's not like, like I said, 2-3 years ago, I would have said, oh man, this is the greatest. And you heard me in the videos, man, I can't, $2,700. The 52 was $200 off. 27. Now they got a Hustler Raptor Limited. Don't fall for that baloney. So I think they want $3,400 for that. For another $100, you can get into an SD with 2,800 hydros and better seats and the foot deck lift system. The Raptor Limited is a complete sham. But yeah. So there is a couple advantages to this. One being, well, actually, I can't even say that anymore. Except when I think this one has a 3-year, no hour warranty on it. I don't know if they're still doing that. I think it might be like a 3-year, 300 hour now. Hustler changed that. I was gonna say that, but you got a 3-gallon tank that they say is a 3-gallon tank. It's really nowhere near. It's around 2.5 if you're lucky. So, and that's even on the SD. But the one reason why I don't like the SD, and it's a great mower, is they still got this bar here. And look how small this is. That's why I like the SDX. And even the SDX, it still has this stupid shape to it. This doesn't, it's weird. But, whatever. But this is a good mower. I got all kinds of stuff in here. I actually wanted to just use it. I haven't used it in like probably like a week. So just ran over my lawn real quick with it. And it does pretty good, man. I had the Skag out today, as usual. But yeah, so hate the bar. Yeah, Keith. Diamond, awesome. Yeah, Hustler, man. It's good, Diamond, awesome. But my Chris was here. I hope he still is. Oh wait, Justin. Yeah, my Gravy's ET 15 out the door, 52 25 deck, 5 with baffles. Yeah, you know that's great, Justin, and that's where I would go. But I think this guy Chris, you know, is really on a tight budget. You know, because even I said, I'm like, dude, spend an extra $500. If you really like Hustler, you want a Hustler, get the SD. You know, there's just so many more advantages to it. But like I said, I don't think the extra, you know, whatever, $600, $700, $800, I don't think he really has that to spend. So, but you know, look at this mower, look at the Arians icon, look at the Gravely ZTX, you know, even some of those new Toros that are out. You know, those Toro frames are really well. And you're gonna get better tip speed with those Toros. That's the main downfall of this mower, is the tip speed. The Gravely's faster. I believe the Toro now is in that 18,000 range, and that's on a residential type mower. So, you know, this mower needs an upgrade. It really does. It's been out probably 6-7 years now, and they haven't done a thing except change engines from a Cowie to a Kohler. That's all they've done to this mower in 6-7 years that it's been out. So I'm sure they're going to do one, because this, you know, this isn't Lowe's and all that, so it's a popular mower. But you're not going to have any issues with this mower, straight up. Yep, it's in the 16 range. Some of the new Toros, like I said, are in the 18 range, and they're like around $3,000. So nah, brother, don't have the extra funds, just swung. Yep, see, so he doesn't really have the money. So listen, bro, you can get this mower and you'll be fine for 2 years, 3 years. You can easily put 500 hours. I think you're going to max out at around 500 hours on a machine like this, especially with those 22s. But, you know, this guy's in Florida. You know, my man New Jersey Customs, he was telling me about it. Actually, we just talked about it. I guess he knows somebody in Florida. They're getting 1,000 hours out of some of these mowers, because, you know, there's no hills, everything's flat. So, you know, it's a comfortable mower. It's good steering. You know, the tip speed is the downfall, but it still cuts kind of nice. You will get you know, stranglers every once in a while with it. But yeah, man, that's about it. I just wanted to kind of talk about it a little bit. Kohler's good, man. I've been very happy with this Kohler. Let me tell you, I had the Kawasaki on my 52. 23 horsepower, my 52-inch Hustler. And it would bog down once in a while, going through some sick shit. Never shut off, just, you know, you get into that thick stuff. And actually, the Bobcat was the one I meant to say. The Bobcat, I'd get into some thick shit with that Bobcat. Now, I think a 21.5 horsepower on a 52-inch mower, especially with the weight of that Bobcat, was not the right choice. They should be going to a 23, but they might have upgraded it now. I'm not sure, but the one I had, let me tell you, you go through some thick stuff, that engine would bog down a little bit. Now, I don't think that's a Kawasaki issue. I think, like I said, they've just put an underpowered engine in a bigger mower. Now, this 24 horsepower, man, I can go through anything, and it never, ever, ever bogs down at all. So I've been very happy with these Kohlers, guys. Very, very, very happy. I can't say a bad thing about it. You know, 48 hours on this thing, you know, not a ton. You know, we'll probably finish the year at 120, maybe 130, and I don't think I'm going to have any issues. Excellent mower. The only thing I see, I'll bring it up, man, my man who has the 36-inch, what's his name? Oh, man. Grass Monkey. He has the 36 with the Cowie on it, and, oh, my receipt. I was looking for this. Anyway, his battery is under here, which I like. This is the only thing that kind of pisses me off, because I like to put my maintainer on here once in a while. And I know there's other ways to do it, but I don't like having it not, you really, if I do have to ever get in here, I got to have a, nut drivers to get this thing out of here. His was right here. So I don't know if Skag did that different for 2017, but I really like that. So, my thing is, I'm telling you, if I was to get rid of this, and I'm really thinking about it, this is the money maker. Yeah, all right, David Elder. I got 540 hours on my Hustler Raptor 42. Think about doing a review on it. David, do it. Do it. Let these people know that you can get these kind of hours out of it. Let them know. That would be a great video, David. Yep, definitely do that, man. Oh, I think I'm losing you here. I only got 2% battery life left, but yeah, if I was to get rid of this, I'm really considering maybe going to that 36-inch. I wish Skag would come out with a 42-inch Liberty, but I doubt they will. But a 36, and I'll be ready to go. I probably get the bagging system, and then when I gotta, do leaves, I got it on the 52. If I ever need to put it on the 32, 36, I can kind of do it. But Hustler's good. I like that SDX. I wish someone would do a video on it. But all right, I gotta get out of here because my thing's dead. I'll talk to you guys. All right, peace.